A guide to girls fantasy football. A guide to girls fantasy football, Jacqueline Cabrera.
Good afternoon. As you can see, for most of you, I probably look like a nice, young, upstanding lady. Standing here with my little flats, my little jacket. And most of the time I consider myself an intellectual. I love going to the opera, going to see plays. But something strange happens come September. I go through a metamorphosis, a complete transformation. I become the fantasy football girl. And don't ask me when this happened, I can't tell you. But all I know is that all I think about is football now. Do you know there's 27 million people who play fantasy football? By show of hands, how many of you are in fantasy football league? I'm disappointed. There should be more of you. And did you notice there's hardly any women? That's because there's only about 1 million of us. There's only about 1 million women that play fantasy football. But guys, we're increasing in numbers. Yeah, we're going to rain on your parade pretty soon. Now, one of the things I wanted to share with you today is a guide for girls and fantasy football. And this, gentleman, you can use to sell it too, because I'm sure a lot of you, the ones that are either watching football or participating in fantasy football, you're either single, losers, watching football on Sundays by yourself, or you're about to get divorced come every September. And ladies, for those of you who have significant others that are in a league, you probably forget about them come September because they're already booked. On average, a fantasy football player spends 9 hours just researching. And I can attest to that. That is true. It's probably even more. But this is your guide because you can use this to impress your stud muffin. And also, guys, you can use this to sell it to your girlfriend or your wife. Because fantasy football can be a way for you to bond and get closer together. Make fantasy football your date night. Now, the key to fantasy football is knowing that you gotta go ahead and draft about 9 players, right? But let's start with what is fantasy football. It's just that. Some guy dreamed up the fact that, you know, he didn't like this player for this team, or he didn't like that one, or he wished he could have come up with a better super team. And that's what they did. So they came up with this whole concept of fantasy football, where you draft your preferred players. Now, guys in general probably use some statistics to set up these players and these teams, but no, I like my method, the Jackie method. The Jackie method consists of the looks. How good looking are you? Because frankly, I don't know my tight end from my wide receiver. I just know who's hot, who's handsome, who's Romo and who's Breeze. I don't care who has the better hair. That's my philosophy. Who cares about the stats? I just want to look at good-looking guys playing around a football field. That's what I care about. So that's number 1, your method for selecting these players. But secondly, and this is really key, you have to get a good name for your team. Girls, you don't want something cutesy like Pinky or I'm so cute. No. You want something like, ooh, me so hot. Or something along the lines of, duh, winning, because you know you got to talk smack. Now granted, you got to win in order to talk smack, but nonetheless, you can still do it. The other fun thing about fantasy football is on Sundays, come Sundays when you're watching the game, watching your favorite player, make it a date night. Yeah, you're probably saying, that's crazy. That's just crazy talk. But no, on the contrary, it's a whole bonding experience. You could be there drinking your Cosmo, watching your favorite team or your favorite player, while your boyfriend or husband is just drinking down those beers. And you can talk smack now. You can talk about your different players because now you have some information. Now you're treading on their space. So this is all good. This is all good. But definitely get a good name for your team. The other thing with fantasy football, ladies, don't make some rookie mistakes. Because I did. When you get a good player, stick to the good player, even if you didn't score last week. Because the biggest mistake I made was A, listening to my boyfriend, who happens to be in my same league, by the way. So I think he did it on purpose, because I ended up losing last week, and I was playing against him. So he's the one that's been giving me bad advice. So don't follow the advice. Just stick to your advice, whatever you think is best. And then, don't do the rookie mistake of dropping your best player. Because even if he's not scoring well, you want to go ahead and stick to him, because that's rookie mistake number one, and you know all the guys on the other league are laughing because you just dropped a good player and they're ready to pick him up. But the biggest thing that I find with fantasy football is that it is an opportunity to bond. Because ladies, let's face it, come September, you have a choice. You can either create your own fantasy game, for example, fantasy relationship, because that's really all you're going to have, or you can decide to join a league like I did. And that's been a really good experience. Not only because it's fun, and I've become an addict, quite frankly, but it's a good opportunity to bond with your spouse or your loved one. Mr. Contest Chair?